Hello, and welcome to another episode of The End of the Search. This one I call it Living in the World, but Not of It. What I mean by that? Well, it's not something special or extraordinary, like you're going to be walking on water or turning water into wine or anything like that. It's the most ordinary and obvious way of living, which allows you to experience true inner peace and happiness. And living in the world, but being not of it, it simply means being the observer. That's it. Instead of reacting to the experience, you are the observer of it. Now, you're not reacting to any experience. You're always reacting to your thoughts. Or I should say, to the thoughts that appears in you. Not in you as a person, but in you as what is. But because you think that you're or identify with this person, let's just keep it with a language or a level that we can that is easier to dissect. Okay. So, if you look at life, life is a mixture of sensations, thoughts, appearances, and that's all there is to it. All of that is completely neutral, has no effect on you. Of course, you believe in you're this individual, and now you interpret everything through the filters of thinking. You see? So now you live in the world believing the content of the mind, and that's why you believe that this is your reality, and consequently you find yourself reacting to it. But when you don't believe the content of the mind, you're still living in the world the same way that before, meaning that people will see you just the same, you're still interacting and everything. But with the difference is that you're not reacting no longer to the world, you are now observing it, because you're not actually reacting to your thoughts, you're observing them. Being the observer of the thoughts is not non-duality, because there's still a position of observer and observed, right? Non-duality is the disappearance of it all. It's just what is. It's the essence of beingness, which ultimately where this video points you. Now, within this context, being the observer is a more relaxed position, you see, in which now it can be, the thoughts can be observed, everything can be observed, but there's no reactivity, you see, because at a core level, I know who I am, which is actually the most important thing. I'm going to talk about it in a little bit, but for now, let's give you an example. Let's say that something happens, and you got two people watching the same scenario, or even two people feeling the same thing. One suffers it, and the other one is very relaxed. It's okay with what is. Then the scenario could not be the cause of their reaction or the response. The scenario is simply what happens, but one is believing the content of its mind, you see? Well, there you go. That's the reaction. But the other one, on the other hand, is not identified with the thoughts, is just simply observing them. And see how the thoughts is trying to translate the scenario, and is trying to say how bad or how good, it doesn't matter. It's trying to make a story around it. But the observer simply is present. It's just present, that's all. Observe the thought. Yeah, I still perceive the scenario and I still feel the same sensations, but it's not moved by it, because it's not identified with the content of the mind. You see? So that lack of identification with the content of the mind is what is meant by living in the world, but not of it. See? And you have access to it immediately, always, because your nature is beingness. Your nature is what is presence. You always are. So to shift that, all that needs to be done is to realize that nothing I think means anything, and it's not true. Now, the reason why this, which is very simple, seems to be so difficult is because it's threatening our sense of identity. Our sense of identity is I am a person, I'm a human being, this is my name, I'm separate from everything else, and on top of that, look what I have accomplished, look what I have, look what it's mine, look what I want, and all that stuff. And all of these thoughts, by the way, they're just thoughts, they need something to attach to. So we need to go to the core. We cannot keep this on an intellectual level. Okay, I will not identify with the thoughts, so this wouldn't bother me. Yeah, you can say that, but on a much deeper level, on a gut level, it bothers. So then it's like a cover-up. No, when you know who you are, not you personally, but again, limitation of language, when there's that recognition that I am, because I rest in the I am that I am, when resting in that, thoughts are perceived, scenarios are perceived, sensations are perceived, but I remain as I am. And even if I walk into the world among others, quote unquote others, you see, which is the same energy that takes different seeming forms, like the form of this character, of course, and this you. But anyhow, I can be walking among everybody else, and you see how people are reacting, and the gossiping and blaming and feeling this and feeling that, and some are excited because they think something happened in their life that is marvelous, and others really upset because look what is happening to them, and you see that, but you see, you're walking through them. You see, we're walking through that same field, that mind field. We're walking through that with a mentality that is observing the field without identified with the interpretations the mind is making of any of it. Now, that doesn't mean that we put ourselves in a position thinking, I am better than them because I can observe. No, that's still an egotistical point of view. What I'm saying is that there's a natural relaxation because although the world of appearances hasn't changed, I am not identified with the content of the mind. You see, I'm not believing the thoughts, and consequently, I am being the observer. You see? And when you are the observer of life, you are living in the world with a mind that is not of the world. It's that simple. This is it. But once again, the reason why this is or seems to be so difficult is because this is the death of the sense of identity, and most people don't want to let go of their sense of identity. They're proud of who they are, or even they want to feel however they want to feel because that's what makes them feel alive. This is what I am. I am this person. Look what I've accomplished. Look who I am. This is my name. I am the son of or the daughter of. I know these people. See, all that stuff is to keep feeding the sense of identity. So this is a kind of disappearance. It's the death of the ego. But the disappearance doesn't mean that you will not, that people will not see you, that your family will not see you, that you'll disappear from the world. No. You still live in the world. You're still going to be acting as if you are the same person everybody knows. But inwardly, however, you're not that same person that everybody knows. Because inwardly, you now know you're not even a person. But while it appears that you're this person, inwardly there's a tranquility because I am simply the observer. See? And this is the invitation here. When I ask you constantly in every video, if you don't identify with the content of the mind, I didn't say that thoughts will not be there. They will be there. It doesn't matter. But if you don't identify with them, if you don't believe in them, because remember, you have done the investigation, you remember that I simply am is the sense of beingness. If you don't identify with the content of the mind, what is left? Again, you don't answer. If you answer, you went back to the mind. I'm just pointing to what is left. Right now, what is? You see? Life. This is it. Isness, if you want to use that term. And in isness, in life, in what is, thoughts will appear. All kinds of thoughts. All scenarios will present themselves. But I remain as I am. See, you are. That's where these videos are pointing to. And from the I am, I observe, or it is observed how life uses the instrument and moves it to do whatever it's going to do. And it's like watching the movie, but without identified with the movie. And that's the invitation. And this is not theory. This is not hypothetical. This is not esoteric. This is the most obvious. I wouldn't even say practical, just obvious. Right now, can you say that you're not? Well, better question, what are you? But don't go to the mind, don't identify with the thought. What are you? And when you realize that, oh my God, you just asked me a question, who am I? What am I? But if I don't go to the mind, what answer can I give you? None. Because if you tell me I am Mary or Joe or whatever, that's a lie. That's something that you bought. When you were a baby, you were born, you were just pure experience. That's all there is. That's it, nothing else. And then when the mind developed the capacity to differentiate, then all of a sudden you began to have a sense of I am something. It's like you and everything else. You still don't know what anything else is, and you still don't know what you are, but you feel a contraction. Put it this way, a contraction. And then your parent says, hi, Jimmy, or Elizabeth, it doesn't matter. Hi, Jimmy, hi. And then you begin to associate Jimmy with me, and then you say, I am Jimmy. No, you're not Jimmy. You are. That's it. The word Jimmy is a word, is a thought that you have associated with you, and now you, which is the all ever-present experience itself, now you limit it to a name. I am Jimmy, or I am Elizabeth. And you believe that. That's how you turn into a believer. See? That lie is the foundation of all the lies that will come about that. I am good, I am bad, I am successful, I am a failure, I am competent, I am incompetent, I'm deserving, I'm not deserving. And then all the stories, look what I do, look where I went, look where I want to go. And everything are stories, thoughts that I just keep holding on to this contraction that I call Jimmy or Elizabeth or whatever your name or my name is, Because we forget that we are not the name, but we think we are the name. And we do the same thing with the thoughts. These are my thoughts. I'm thinking that. Thoughts appear. Have you noticed that? If you could choose the thoughts, if you really could be, if you're the thinker of the thoughts, and if you could really choose them, why not choosing positive thoughts only? I mean, isn't that common sense? Why choosing thoughts of suffering? And yet, we experience the highs and the lows always. When there's an identification with the sense of identity as a person, the highs and the lows are experienced as painful and pleasurable and suffering and everything. When there's no identification with the sense of a person, the experiences will happen, but we don't even label them highs and lows. We just see them as movement of energy that has no effect on the peace in which I rest. I'm pointing to what is. And what is life. That's what is. Everything else is an interpretation. When you don't believe in interpretation, you still experiencing yourself as this moving through life, but much light-hearted, you see, with a light-heartedness, because nothing is personal anymore. People will insult you. These are words that means nothing, because you rest in that peace. Doesn't mean you cannot enjoy a compliment or whatever. That's fine. And even if you feel that somebody insults you and you start feeling something, but instead of going to the mind interpretation and begin to try to retaliate, You remember, oh wait, I see what's going on here. I forgot who I am. And then you go back again to that space, and then the words can continue their journey. You see? But if you do something special with the ones that you like, if for example somebody compliments you and you live, oh my God, this is wonderful and everything, well, get ready, because when the opposite comes up, you're going to react the same. But if you can enjoy the compliment with a lightheartedness and I said, well, thank you, and then you just continue your life then that's fine. Everything is taken like that. Nothing carries a weight. Life is just one scene after the other one. You can enjoy the pleasurable ones. Why not? If you seem to be here, why not enjoying it? But you don't carry the weight of it. For example, you go on a vacation to the beach, you enjoy the beach to the fullest and you're having a great time, but when you come back home, you don't go with the, oh, I wish I could stay at the beach, I wish I was there, oh man, I'm coming back here. No, none of that. You're here now, and that's it. The beach, forgotten, like it never happened. You see, because it never did. But that's it. Then life is this moment. And then if you don't believe the content of the mind, which is evaluating and interpreting everything, then you're in peace. You're at peace. You experience the peace that passes all understanding. That is being happy. No matter what. You see? And once again, this is not so you can now understand it and I go, oh, I see, I don't have to believe the content of the mind. Yeah, that's one part of the equation, but let's go back deeper. Who are you? That's what the investigation. See, when there's a recognition that I am, then that's it. With that is enough. Because in the I amness, then the disidentification with thought it's automatic. The identification of thought is only for the sake of the individual, for the sake of a personal identity. When there is no personal identity, then there's no need to identify with the thoughts. It just so happens that within the world of experience or illusion, we just see how life moves the instrument. And the instrument will do all kinds of things. Fun things and things that may not be that fun. It will have its seeming ups and its seeming down, but there's an equanimity. You see, there's a space, there's a sense of peace that cannot be disturbed by anything. And that's why it is referred to as the peace that passes all understanding. You see? And that's the invitation. Because identify with the thoughts, even the positive ones and the things you like, that carries weight. They carry the weight of keep supporting the belief that I'm a separate entity. Consequently, I'm going to have to deal with its opposite, because that's the world of experience, is the world of opposition. You see, one cannot exist without the other one. But you are, and remaining in what is, that is how you are happy. You live a really, really happy life. You're at peace. And sometimes accomplishment seems to happen. Great. And sometimes it's sitting in the couch and doing nothing happens. Great. Sometimes activity, sometimes inactivity. That's fine. That is just simply, it's part of the play. But now I am the observer of the play. Consequently, I am not disturbed, distracted by the play. This is what all the great teachers, Jesus, Buddha, and all those, that have Nisargadatta, Ramana Maharshi, that's exactly what they're pointing to all the time. That's why they seem to live in a peace that passes all understanding, because although it may appear as bodies, in reality they know who they are. Well, you appear as a body, I appear as a body, but knowing who I am, resting in that, resting in what is, by not identified with the content of the mind, there you go, game over. I mean, the game continue in the play as long as this instrument's still here, but the game that I'm talking about, the mind game, that it was a distraction, it's over. You see, you can see a great magician. I've said this before, I'll say it again. You can see a great magician. But the moment you know the trick, you will no longer believe and be mesmerized by it. Well, this is the trick. I'm sharing it with you. Just notice that you're always reacting to thoughts. That's it. Don't identify with them. Don't believe in them. And if you don't believe the content of the mind, that's the trick. And what is left? The peace that passes all understanding. What is left is the happiness, which is your birthright, because it's who you are. It's not what you feel, and it's not what you're going to get. It's what you are in essence. You are that which words cannot describe. If you don't believe the content of the mind, it becomes crystal clear. Right now. See, this is it. Life is. And when a thought comes in with a worry, concern, or future or past, just see it as it is, as a thought. That's all. And that's how you live in this world without being of the world. This is inspiration that came through this instrument. I hope it served. And as always, may peace permeate the mind so that love can be extended.